Welcome to episode number 239, where Adam is sharing his journey with Ayurveda. Adam is a true creative and does a lot of charity theatre work. However, through this work, his Vata can get very aggravated and he can become burnt out and really drained. He talks in this episode about how Ayurveda has helped him understand how to keep his body and mind in balance so he can use that Vata creativity to do his amazing work in the world. So please stay tuned. Welcome to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. I'm your host, Colette, and I hope to educate and empower you to take charge of your health and well-being, preventing disease in the body and mind so that you can thrive in life. I will be sharing the holistic teachings of Ayurveda, which is the ancient healing tradition from India. Now, if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend listening to the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. And if you like the content, please be sure to subscribe or follow the podcast so the new episodes will automatically download for you. Also, you may want to check out my private Elements community, which is away from social media. It's a safe space for like-minded people to come together, to connect, to share, to support each other, and to continue the conversation from the podcast episodes. Check out the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and just click on the community tab. And I hope to connect with you there. Thanks for listening. And now here's a new episode. This episode is sponsored by New World Ayurveda. If you're interested in working with client case studies from day one of your training, consider becoming an Ayurvedic practitioner through New World Ayurveda School. This way you learn the theory of Ayurveda at the same time as you learn how to apply it practically. Get a head start on working with clients by learning Ayurveda through being exposed to the most common problems clients face and how to correct them with diet, lifestyle, and herbs. The other interesting thing about New World Ayurveda is that you start learning pulse diagnosis from the very first day. They have had the most experience teaching Ayurveda online than any other Ayurveda school, and they have developed ways of teaching pulse diagnosis at a distance. And you get the chance to study Ayurveda with an MD through Ayurveda's premier online school, New World Ayurveda. For more information, go to newworldayurveda.com, and you'll also find that link in the show notes. Hello and welcome back to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. Today, I'm very happy to welcome a special guest who I have had the pleasure of working with in the past, and his name is Adam. Hello, Adam. How are you?
Hi, Colette. I'm good. Thank you. Happy to be chatting to you today.
Well, thank you for taking this time. I appreciate it and sharing your journey with Ayurveda, Adam. And I'd love to start with, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from.
Yes, no worries. So I'm from the north of Ireland. I'm from County Antrim, up at the very top of Ireland, near a place called the Giant's Causeway.
Lovely.
And I am an artist. So I'm a theatre director, writer, and a reluctant performer sometimes.
I know you do a lot of great work. And when we met, actually, we met in Bali, was it 2014?
Yeah, I think it was 14 or 15, yeah.
Yeah, and I had gone through my Panchakarma at the Ayurvedic clinic, and then I was working there with Dr. Sujata, and then you came along, maybe towards the end of 2014, start of 2015, and that's where we met, right?
That's right, yes.
Yeah, and so where were you coming from then? Were you...
So I was living in Zambia at that time. So I lived in Zambia for 10 years, and I was just coming towards the end of my 10 years in Zambia. I think as I spoke to you at the time, I've been working with this amazing charity arts group called Bare Feet Theatre, which I had a hand in starting with some local artists. We were basically a group of artists who collided together in 2006, and we were all very young at the time. And we started just doing some creative sharing, collaboration, and that started to gain some traction. We started doing workshops basically with children who were living on the streets, and none of us, we were all artists. So the interesting thing was most of the Zambian artists had the experience of at one point living on the streets themselves and had found drama, music, acrobatics, dance, theatre as a way of giving them something to do, some hope, some inspiration, and critically allowing them to do performances which allowed them to earn some money to get themselves off the streets.
Fantastic.
So the guys had a real kind of sense of what was needed with young people. So basically we started to do workshops with kids in the street. It wasn't rocket science. Kids started to come off the street to do something they were engaged with. And while they were off the streets, they could access a shower, they could get some food. And if they wanted to, they could actually stay in some of the drop-in centres and start their education. So that was 2006. And basically, long story short, it kind of evolved into this beautiful monster of an organisation, which helped a lot of children across 5 sites across the country, but meant that, you know, as the organisation grew, the administrative necessities of it grew as well. So we all were kind of finding our feet for the first few years to try and do bits of this, that, and everything. And then as it got bigger and bigger and bigger, the demands grew bigger. We had more staff, and I think by the time we met in 2014, 15. I had really been working all the hours God sends to make sure this organisation, because, you know, it was our heart and soul, the whole thing. So by the time I met you, I think it was 9 years down the line, and I think things were definitely starting to take their toll on me physically and mentally for sure. So so kind of that's where we collided at that point.
Right. And I know then I was amazed by the work you're doing, and such a wonderful organization that you had helped to start and build up, and just fantastic work you were doing. So that's amazing. And yes, when I met you, you were really pretty burnt out after 9 years of that amazing work. And so how did you choose Bali and the Ayurvedic Center? That I don't remember.
In terms of Ayurveda, it's interesting. My sister is quite into natural, holistic health. And she was living in Australia at the time, and a very good friend of hers was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And they had done a lot of research into alternative support for his treatment. And I remember so clearly hearing about, he went to Kerala for a Panchakarma. And I remember so clearly hearing how the whole experience had just elevated him, and how he got so much support, and how much it had really helped his symptoms. And so, you know, I think my sister could really see that I was, you know, in need of some support. And it's not a sense of, oh gosh, you know, I've crashed, I need to go and find some kind of something to you know, to revive me or bring me back. We talked about the Panchakarma for a long time, and I'd really done some research into it. And just, I don't know, it's, you know, when you read something, it just really resonates with you. And so something really clicked with the research that I'd done. And, you know, again, with which place to go to, it was like, and you know, putting a needle in a map, really. It was, it ended up being, I think, something as simple as that Bali was the cheapest place for me to get to for the time that I had off, and this, you know, the time of year that I was doing it. And then I looked at the Ayurvedic Center in Bali, the one that we met at, and I really thought of this. I was very inspired by what I read. So managed to get some time off, and booked myself into the clinic for, I think, 28 days.
Okay, you were there for the full Panchakarma then.
I did, I stayed for, I think I even stayed a few days after that. It was kind of like I didn't want to leave.
And so that was your first experience with Ayurveda, and you're working with Dr. Sujata there.
That's right.
Yeah. And she's great. And how was your first experience with Ayurveda? Well, I guess we can get a hint there when you didn't want to leave.
That's true. I mean, I'm a real pure Vata person. So I'm a man of extremities. So I remember, you know, coming to staying a couple of nights in Seminyak before coming into the clinic, and partying it up in Seminyak and drinking beer on the beach. So I really came to it with I didn't really have an awareness of of what it was going to entail. I just thought, oh, well, it'd be nice to have 28 days, you know, in a lovely place and have some nice, you know, treatments. So I came to it with, you know, despite my research, with very little awareness of what I could expect. And my first, barrier to the whole thing was the ghee. Oh my God.
Oh yeah,
Colette.
I know.
Like I don't like butter at the best of times. So to come and have to drink this ghee in the morning was a battle.
Yeah, I hear you.
And then to also come into the yoga session straight after, where you would feel the ghee moving around your body. That's where I would meet you, because I was teaching the yoga there. That's right.
and I was always so aware of people who had just taken ghee. Yeah.
Yes. The first week was just incredible. You know, I really do remember when you were asking me to come onto the podcast, I was reflecting back on my naivety before I came in to do the Panchakarma. And I remember, as I said to you, like having that few days before, like drinking, eating whatever I wanted in Seminyak before. But I do remember also what I was watching around that time. It was The Walking Dead. I know you probably will never have seen this, but it's
I've heard about it.
It's a zombie apocalypse thing set in a dystopian future in America. I mean, that tells you all you need to know about how horrific it was. And just to think my mindset at that time, I was using that as entertainment to switch off. Yeah. So that was one of the big things straight away that was very clear about your mental diet that people spoke about at the clinic. Yeah. And it was just so interesting just how quickly, by removing something so toxic like that, to see how I instantly felt better by not having the stress of watching some zombie apocalypse TV series. Right. And then, the first week, as you know, as people will know, was just about detoxing and about staying very adhering to the diet, which I actually really loved. Being Vata Pitta, I just loved the warm khichdi, like the very easily digestible texture. I loved the taste of khichdi. I loved all the different sauces that came with it, the coriander, chutney. And so it was very easy for me, actually. The diet wasn't the difficult thing in the first week. It was primarily the ghee. Mm-hmm. And then just, I suppose, getting used to the treatments and, the Abhyanga massage. Who wouldn't love that? Right. So the first week I was very, very taken with it almost instantly. And really started quite quickly to feel the effects of it. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily all positive in that first week, as you know, as the toxins are moving around your body. And you can feel it. You really can feel it when you get towards the end of the first week, just how your mind starts to get really foggy and you can see your skin's breaking out. And I remember really clearly just feeling completely all over the place by the end of the first week until you do your cleanse day.
Yeah, and then once you go through the elimination day, then it's all about the rejuvenation, and you get to start getting the new foods. Yeah,
well, I think you can't jump past the elimination day without having to say something about that bloody elimination day, which is, I tell the story to friends all the time about that elimination day. About going down in the morning and then you drink what the practitioner gives you. Yeah. And then you go into the is it Snedana, where you get steamed up?
Yeah, into the Sweda. Yeah, you go into the steam. Yeah. Yeah,
you go into the steam and then go back to your room and you wait. And it's like, waiting, this kind of sort of Damocles hanging over your head, just waiting to see when your stomach is that it? Is it starting now? And then once it starts, oh my goodness! That was quite extreme. But I don't know how graphic you want to get in the podcast, but I do remember, obviously, after the whole week, your curiosity to see what you're eliminating, and my God, just you can really see the toxins in your elimination. It was just. It's 50% of you was in agony. Well, not agony, but 50% of you was in deep discomfort, and 50% of you was like, "Wow, I'm so happy that that's not in my body anymore."
Right? Yeah, it is. It's not comfortable, but it feels good to do that purge.
It really does. And then, I love at the end of the day, whenever you're completely, after you pick yourself up off the bathroom floor and make your way to bed, one of the, really lovely practitioners from the clinic comes over to check on you and give you some water. And
they give you some coconut water and make sure you're okay.
That's right, to revive. And but when we made great friends in the clinic as well. A very good friend of mine, Tanya, who was there at the same time. We used to call it like your popping day, because everybody would come down after their elimination day, and they may feel tired and they may feel a bit sorry for themselves and a bit weary, but their eyes, everybody, for the whole month I was there, you could just see the difference between somebody pre and post their elimination day, just how clear and bright and vibrant and almost full of spirit people's eyes were. So that's one big lasting memory I'll always have.
Yeah, and they're skipping down to the restaurant as well for the new food.
Oh God, that's right. Yeah, after 7 days of kitchery and ghee,
you're ready for a change.
You're ready for anything.
Yeah, and it's great that you're able to immerse yourself in that Panchakarma. And I think it's great for people, if you do get an opportunity to go away. Panchakarma is, 3 weeks. It's Pancha means 5. There's 5 particular steps in it. And it's so wonderful to have that experience, to go away to a clinic, to really be cocooned and not have to worry about anything. It's such an amazing experience and gift to give yourself. So that was a great start for you in Ayurveda.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And you felt, so afterwards you felt the benefits of the cleanse. How were you feeling post cleanse then, post Panchakarma, I should say?
The big thing was my digestive system, because that was something that is always, it's the first thing to go out of sync whenever I'm Vata crazy. My digestive, my elimination always goes out of sync. So that was something that I really noticed, just how comfortable I felt when eating, and just how regular, and how I suppose stronger I felt. Actually, I definitely felt much more in control of my body, and I felt more in tune with my body. So that was great. But honestly, to be honest with you, again, I'm a man of extremities. So when I went back to work again, it didn't take very long for me to go back into old patterns.
Right.
And that's going back, especially working in the theatre, if you're rehearsing 10 hours a day and you've got a show coming up, the last thing I was able to do was to prioritize my diet and get into bed early, and, all the things that had really helped me over the previous weeks. So I definitely went back into old patterns, and, not surprisingly, noticed the effects of that quite quickly. I suppose the interesting thing was I knew I had some tools to be able to bring me back when I could.
Exactly. And I think the great thing about going through a Panchakarma cleanse is you get to feel your body in balance. So you know what it feels like when you're physically and mentally in balance. Yeah. And then that can be your gauge for when you're feeling off, right?
Absolutely.
It can really tell you how far off you are from being in balance. And so after Bali, then where did you go after that?
After Bali, I went back to Zambia and finished, I think probably it was another year there. And if the last 9 years have been challenging, the next year was probably the most challenging. So that was, I got sick when I got malaria when I about 8 or 9 months after I done my Panchakarma. After having been in Zambia for 10 years and never having anything, I got malaria in my last year there. Mixed with also we used to run a festival there, and I can't tell you how unlucky we were in that last year. We had, the currency crashed. We had problems with electricity, and we had lots of visitors coming over. So it was a very, very stressful last year. And I'd had this kind of dream of traveling up through the rest of the continent, because I'd started doing a one-man street theatre, so that's why I found myself in Zambia. And I had a dream of finishing this street theatre project with local companies in different countries on the way back up towards Europe. So I did that. I left Zambia and went to, I did this kind of tour with different theatre companies in Congo and in Nigeria and Rwanda, Ethiopia, up to Egypt. So by the time I finished that year, and went home to Ireland. I mean, I was a complete and utter physical, mental, energetic wreck. So despite having had that experience with Panchakarma, I managed to get myself completely out of balance again. And, I think there's something about traveling and, the irregularity of that and diet and not knowing when you're going to eat and what you're, able to eat. So, I definitely went home to Ireland in a bit of a state.
Right. You needed some grounding back at home. And that's it, because when you're traveling, it's all about irregularity, and the mobile quality as well of Vata is really aggravated. So it is generally Vata aggravating, which is why a lot of people with high Vata constitution will become imbalanced while traveling, constipation and dryness and irregular digestion, elimination, and so on. So that, you definitely have to be really sensitive if you have a high Vata constitution when traveling. It's really, really important. Taking a little break here to bring you a message from Mount Madonna Institute. Study Ayurveda and Ayurvedic yoga therapy on a mountaintop campus overlooking Monterey Bay on the central coast of California. A nurturing learning environment in nature surrounded by redwoods and with a like-minded community of peers. Visit mountmadonnainstitute.org to discover all the details on these programs and receive $100 off tuition when you register before December 31st, 2022, using the discount code ELEMENTS22. You'll find all the info and the link in the show notes. And so you ended up back in Ireland, and then we'll fast forward because we touched base in February.
Yes, that's right.
22. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of that, I'd always kind of had this, I liked what you said earlier about it being an absolute privilege to be able to take some time away to be in a clinic and, to be in Bali, obviously, is an incredible privilege. But not everybody can do that. And I was very fortunate at that point where I did have the capacity and I didn't have kids that I had to leave anywhere or, a job that I wasn't able to give myself time off from. So I'd always had this thing when I wasn't feeling well, I need to go back to Bali. I need to go back to Bali, or I need to go somewhere, and I had spent some time in Kerala prior to this. I'd always really stayed in touch with the Ayurvedic practice whenever I could. And as I say, I always had tools that I was able to utilize if I did feel out of balance. But I always thought, it's only a stopgap. What I need to do is another Panchakarma. I need to do another Panchakarma. And of course, the reality of my life living in London was I didn't have the time and I didn't have the capacity to jump off to do a Panchakarma every time I felt out of balance. Right. So I'd followed you because we'd swapped details. So I'd followed you for years on social media, and I'd always kind of checked in with you. And I can't remember what the impulse was, but I did think, I can't go and do a Panchakarma at this point. And, and I don't feel like I can my mates used to joke with me that I would always fantasize about going off to Bali every time I felt under the weather or a little bit, out of sync. And they're like, well, why can't you just bring the principles into your everyday life? And I said, you just have to immerse yourself in it, which I do believe you have to immerse yourself in it to an extent. But we had a lovely chat whenever I looked on your website and looked at the cleanse that you were offering. And how you can do that whilst also working, whilst also being at home, whilst also accessing ingredients that were local to where you are. So, I mean, it seemed pretty, doable. So we got in touch. We had a lovely consultation. And what I really appreciated during our consultation was how real you were about it, and how I remember one thing really clearly where you'd given me a suggested itinerary for the day. Yeah. All of which I was like, yep, nope. Because you had said something about first thing in the morning, going out for a walk, and getting out in nature first thing in the morning. And I was just very honest with you and said, you know what, Colette, I won't do that. Or if I do that, it'll be absolutely horrible for me. Because I love getting up in the morning. I love being warm. I love being in my warm house. I love doing my meditation. I love, doing a bit of yoga and making my breakfast. But if I had to leave the house and go and walk around the park, it would just make me really miserable. So you swapped it to say, well, what about lunchtime? And I said, lunchtime would be brilliant. And then there was another thing as well. Everything I read in Ayurvedic books or suggested materials always talked about doing self-massage in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I just always found that such a faff to get yourself all oily. And, in the morning, it just really, really always put me off. And it was always a block for me actually doing the thing, and when you start to have one block, then it's easy to say, well, I won't do the yoga either because, I'll do that tonight or whatever. So another thing you'd suggested was doing self-massage before having a bath, because I told you I love having a bath. So you made it really easy for me to do stuff that I like in a sequence that really worked for my day and for my timetable. So having the self-massage before having a lovely warm bath, then going into bed, not looking at screens after 7, going into bed, all nice, warm, massaged, snug. I mean, my sleep was just incredible during those 3 weeks. And the other thing which I really appreciated was that I was rehearsing a play at that time in Liverpool, and I was living in London. So it was, it was lots of travel. But again, you made it really easy for me to think ahead, to pack my food, to pack the ingredients for the lovely teas that I was making. So it just, I didn't need to be in Bali. I didn't need to be in Kerala. I didn't need to be anywhere other than in a place where I could access the ingredients and the schedule of activities that you had suggested. And it was really, again, really comforting to know. You made it very easy as well, saying, is it, what's the best way to check in? Is it email? And I'd said, it's much easier by WhatsApp, because if I'm moving around, I'd be able to check my WhatsApp, but going into my emails is going to be a barrier.
Right.
So you made it really easy for that as well. And it was lovely to have somebody checking in, saying, how are you feeling? How was today? How was the last couple of days? Mm-hmm. I really felt supported on that journey.
That's great. And I love the photos I would get of all your food packed up, ready to go on the train.
Yeah. I was very proud of myself.
You should have been.
I wanted to be star pupil. So I was sending you pictures to say, look how good I am. Look how well
No, but it's fantastic, because you did have, a lot on your schedule. So we had to work with where you were. And exactly that, going out in the morning, your Vata was like, oh no, it's cold right now. It was, February in London. It was cold and dark. And of course, you wanted the Vata in you wanted that kind of warm, nourishing morning routine, a slow entry into the day. And when I'm putting a strategy together with someone, I'm always like, I'm going to give you some options and we're going to build this together, because I need to know yay or nay to these, and we'll work with it together, because I really want to build something that will cause no stress and make sure that you can fit it into your lifestyle, and it's something you look forward to. I never want anyone doing any activity or eating anything that they don't like. So yeah, that's really important.
Yeah, I mean, that really makes a difference, because I'm sure anybody listening who's had anything similar before, you don't want it to be a pain. You don't want it to be something that's going to make you feel like you're dreading.
Yes.
So it was so lovely the way you were so up for making it work.
And then you didn't have to drink ghee.
I didn't have to drink ghee, which was amazing. Yes, so, you'd give me the recipe for the ghee balls, which were, they make it a lot easier, because like you, I have a very hard time drinking ghee. It was very hard for me when I did my Panchakarma the first time. I would have to sit for a couple of hours still and just let it digest, because I would be so nauseous from it. But yeah, so I had to find another solution to making it easier for people to digest the ghee. So the ghee balls are so much better. But of course, there is a reason when you're in a supervised environment of an Ayurvedic clinic, there is a reason you're drinking ghee, and it's best to do it under supervision. Whereas when we're doing this cleanse at home, the ghee balls work better and a lot safer. So that's good. So tell us a little bit, Adam, about what you were feeling when you came, and you can share as little or as much as you want here. When you came in February, what was it health-wise that really had you
saying, I need this now?
Again, my digestive system.
Right.
I'd had quite a few things actually, but my digestive system was, I think, the primary one. I really felt deep discomfort when I was digesting food. I'd had a challenge with my esophagus already where I had this condition called the Scatzy ring, which is where there's a narrowing of the esophagus. So I'd had real problems when I wouldn't chew food properly, or when I ate certain foods, especially like rice. I would feel food would just get caught in my esophagus, which was the most uncomfortable thing. And I think when I came to you in February, I'd got to the point where I was, and which I've had to do several times over the last few years, was to make myself throw up so that I could clear my food pathway. So really, this was getting quite regular, and it was, it's just such a debilitating thing, especially if you're out for lunch with someone, or you're in a meeting, or you have to suddenly excuse yourself and go to the toilet and make yourself sick. So it was really starting to impact on me. But again, that a knock-on effect to the rest of my digestive system felt really out of sync and clumsy. And then, of course, that has effect mentally as well. So there was, lots of, similar things where I had mental fog and just really, not feeling myself. And again, it was in February, it was in that transitional season between going into spring. So I always do feel there's a bit of a question, or a bit of a challenge around that time anyway. So there's lots of different challenges that I was facing.
Yeah, and I recall as well that even socially, normally you're a very social person, and you were feeling a little bit of inertia and that lack of motivation, and maybe withdrawing a little, right, as well?
Absolutely, yeah. That was something I remember, feeling that I didn't want to go out of the house that much, and I was just really, just feeling really that I was not in the best place mentally.
Yeah, I recall that you were feeling so physically and mentally drained, I think is fair to say. And you did great on the cleanse itself. You were really focusing on your morning and evening routines and doing your best while having self-compassion that you were, quite busy during the time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was I really did stick to it. I was quite diligent with it because I was feeling the effects of it pretty instantly. Even the first week of taking out all processed foods, I kind of went straight into week 2 into just eating what was recommended for week 2, and straight away I could just feel the difference.
Yeah.
And it's quite inspiring to get such early progress. So it motivates you to keep going. There was a couple of times, the teas as well, which I loved, the teas that you had suggested that I drink. I used to bring those into the rehearsals. I remember one day someone said, is someone eating curry? I was like, no, sorry, that's just my tea. That's spreading that lovely coriander aroma around the room.
Exactly. No, it's fantastic. And yes, you were very diligent throughout the cleanse. And can you tell us then how you were feeling? So you went through week 1, we were gradually eliminating the caffeine, the highly processed foods, and the refined sugars. And then you went into week 2 and had the set diet. And then you went into, you did the elimination day, and then went into rejuvenation. So can you tell us a little bit about how you were feeling then post-cleanse?
Yeah. I mean, my castor oil day, again, was something I won't forget. But, again, similarly to how I felt in Bali, after you do your elimination day, you do just feel that pain feeling. You do feel that that you really want to start rebuilding your system with as much care and nurture as you possibly can. So it is quite inspiring. And again, I did feel the effects quite soon. My digestive system really felt it had reset itself, and there was so much regularity, and I was being much more careful with what and when I was eating. Absolutely just felt really, really walking into spring with a different energy, and having as I said earlier, that reset felt really, really, I felt really in tune with my body. And again, since that, it feels like it's been such a beautiful start of the year for me. It feels like it's really set me up well to handle, and I'm not saying in any way that I've been perfect since, or I've completely stuck to an Ayurvedic diet, because I haven't. But again, that's something you said as well. You were quite clear saying, if you're fairly good 80% of the time, then you can allow yourself, that odd, whatever it is that, maybe isn't going to serve you massively. We're all human. And I think
absolutely
it'd be a very dull life without a glass of red wine.
Absolutely.
Or
yeah, it's all about 80-20. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Now that's important, because if we're too rigid about things and too disciplined, well, first of all, it's not possible to keep that up, and we're feeling deprived, and we're going to get resentful, and it's not going to be good for us. So having that 80-20 lifestyle it's a great balance. And then once you have your fun, then getting back on those, foods that, serve you well and keep you balanced, and the lifestyle and the self-care.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which is great. And so you're bringing all that you've learned in Ayurveda through this journey that you've been on with Ayurveda, and you're bringing that forward then into your life, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, again, it's very easy, I think, for Vata doshas to get out of balance with, as you spoke about, traveling or changing seasons or different things. And I always can tell whenever I'm out of balance, where I feel like, I don't have time to meditate, I don't have time to do this. And that's when I know, okay, this is when I need to double the time that I'm putting towards meditating, preparing my food, setting my daily practice. So I've got, and what's lovely about having done the cleanse with you recently is that I know it's all possible within a really busy period. So it doesn't matter how busy you are. There's always, there's always simple things you can do to make sure that you are eating at the right times, preparing your food in advance, and making sure you always do stick to things that serve you and make you feel better.
Exactly. And as a very creative person, Adam, do you find that when you're in balance, that creativity flows more freely?
I mean, there's this whole thing about the tortured artist, isn't there? That you can only create when you're, drunk, or whenever you're staying up and purging your soul late into the night. And no, actually, I've done both. Yeah. I've done, the kind of staying up late and absolutely wait until the end of a deadline to do something. And I've also tried, whenever I've gone to bed, really lovely after a bath at 10 o'clock, slept up really early in the morning, and just found in the morning creativity just sparks and comes in a way that doesn't deplete. Exactly. And obviously, if you've got two options, you want to do the one where you're still hitting that creativity and probably on a different realm, but you're not depleted, and you're ready to be able to execute and carry out whatever that, for me, it would be a theatre piece or a piece of writing, whatever you need to do with that. So it's completely, it's going back to the natural rhythm of my body and making that serve me on all levels of my life.
Yeah, very well said. And it's true, that kind of tortured artist, because artists tend to have a lot of Vata, that creative energy within them, that it's that aggravated Vata that causes that out of sync, the irregularity in sleep and diet and so on. And then it has the snowball effect. Whereas, like you said, if you're living in tune with the circadian rhythms, getting to bed early and getting up early, even catching the end of that Vata time from 2 to 6 a.m., that's when a lot of inspiration can come in as well. In those early morning hours when that Vata is still active. Which is fantastic.
It kind of builds you up for, you can do the you talked about that again, the tortured artist thing where you're creating, but then you might create a beautiful piece of work, an amazing scene, a gorgeous character, a lovely monologue, but then what's your capacity to be in balance with other areas of your life, with a partner, with kids, with family, with exercise, with I feel like that way of creating is always depleting of another area of your life. So yeah, as you say, that being in tune with those rhythms means you do feel stronger and have more capacity to be aware and be present in more areas of your life than just the creation.
Yeah, not sacrificing at all for the art. It's very well said. And so, Adam, as we finish up here, is there any Ayurvedic advice or tip that you've learned in your journey that you would like to share with the listener? And you've already shared so many insights, and I appreciate it.
I suppose it would just be re-emphasizing that point where I remember reading books and reading suggested Ayurvedic plans and feeling, gosh, I really don't like that food. I really can't eat mushrooms. I really don't. It doesn't work for me doing X, Y, or Z. Just making sure that, if you're working with an Ayurvedic practitioner, just really making sure it's something you look forward to.
Yeah.
Because if you look forward to it, then it's win-wins. It's nurturing and it's something that makes you feel better anyway. And the other thing I would really recommend, but just because I absolutely love Abhyanga massage, is to find anyone who does massage anywhere close to you, even if it's once a month, or having someone you can always go to if you need to have access to a treatment that makes you feel grounded or makes you feel energized. So I find a brilliant Abhyanga massage place very close to me, which is a brilliant reminder. So if I feel that I need some support, I know I've got someone quite close by that can quite quickly give me that sense of grounding that I need.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I remember you discovered them during your cleanse and you were just so excited to have somebody else give you that treatment. I think it's very healing. It's nice to do it at home by yourself, but to go somewhere and just, have someone do that professionally is just amazing, I think.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yes. Yeah. And so, Adam, what are you working on now? You're in London. Well, you're not. You're in France at the moment.
I'm in France at the minute after having... I just finished with two plays, one about the ocean, an outdoor arts piece, which was just beautiful. One
lovely.
Which was talking about NHS stories for the last 2 years.
That's right.
Yeah.
So can you explain to people about the NHS stories? Because that was something during the cleanse that we had to talk about, because you've taken on a lot of emotion from those stories. So if you could just explain to people what that project was.
Yeah, so the National Health Service in the UK, I do some cancer work with the NHS and Macmillan using theatre with people going through different stages of cancer treatment. Fantastic. And when the pandemic hit, when lockdown started, I should say, in March 2020, all face-to-face stuff stopped. So the psychologist at the Whittington Hospital asked me if I would come in and speak to staff there, just to be an ear to listen to staff experiences and to, I suppose, record them during what we all knew was a fairly life-changing series of events. Yeah. So that was very, very difficult. That was straight away in April or May 2020. I was coming into the hospital while the country was in lockdown and doing 1 hour interviews with porters, with nurses, with cleaners, with intensive care supporters, people who've been redeployed, and just recording their stories. And it was incredible. I was really grateful to be able to do it. I felt a complete honor, but it was very intense. People were still in shock. There was a lot of trauma. Yeah. Things were still very much in the thick of it. There was a lot of death and people were really, really scared. So we recorded those stories and I was just an ear. People got very upset. There was a lot of emotion and I was just an ear to listen to what people wanted to talk about. So we did that I was doing that for 2 years. And I think I interviewed over 200 people. And we created 6 theatre performances that went into the hospital with psychologists. So it was an opportunity for staff to hear their stories back to them, or to learn about other colleagues' experiences and emote and feel sadness and to get in touch with their emotions in a really supportive environment. Yeah, so that was we did 2 years. We did 6 pieces of theatre. We did 10 short films for a different trust. worked with the Mental Health Trust. And just, it was a huge honor to be able to hold these people's stories and to be able to craft them into pieces of theatre that were presentable back to people. But as you say, I could definitely feel, I remember now actually when you say this, I remember in February, I was kind of getting to the point where I was finding it difficult to hold these stories and to be able to take any more of that emotion on myself. I think I was definitely feeling a bit depleted.
Yeah, it was a lot because they were really opening up to you, and what an amazing project. And like you said, amazing privilege to help people through that and using theater and art as a way to help people heal, because they're getting to talk about their story, sharing it with others through this work. It's just amazing. But yeah, you're holding space for all that and listening to all those stories and taking on that emotion. So yeah, that was definitely something we had to address in the cleanse as well, I recall.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so all your work is so amazing. It's just beautiful that how you're using your creativity in service of others. And that's what we're here for, right, Adam? And I think, isn't that the greatest honor, to use your skill set that you came into the world with and using it to serve others? And that to me is the best work and the most rewarding work and the work that makes us the happiest, I think.
I think it's serving others as long as it's also serving yourself as well. I think having that balance is really, so I definitely get fed from my work, and then enables me to feed into other people's processes and work as well. So I just love that. And again, that's part of being in balance. I always feel whenever I am out of sync with that as well, where I'm feeling that I'm either giving too much or I'm not giving enough, or, I think what you said is lovely. I think having an opportunity to support other people and knowing that supports you and what your vision and what your values are as well is a real privilege to be able to get to that point.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, the lovely thing, I'm just actually reflecting about everything we've talked about today as well, because next week, on Sunday, I'm going back to Zambia to do a project. So that's it's quite nice that we've come full circle in this conversation.
That's beautiful. So you're going back there after what has it been, 8 years?
Well, no, I've gone back since I left, but I haven't been, because of the pandemic. I haven't been in a good few years. So I think it'll be 3 years since I've gone back.
Okay.
So it's very
fantastic.
A bit lovely to go back with a very clear and positive mental headspace, and
good for you.
Much healthier.
Yeah, and it shows that the importance of prioritizing your self-care so that you can be there for others and support others and all the amazing work you're doing in the world. And you have that now and you understand it, the importance of taking care of you. So to making sure that your cup is full first so you can be there to give to others, right?
100%. I mean, I couldn't agree with that more.
Yeah, well, good on you, Adam. It's amazing work you're doing, and it's always a pleasure. I'm so glad we met, and always a pleasure to chit chat with you. And can you tell people where they go to find out more about you, or is there a certain website that they can go to if they're interested in looking at your work?
I have, yes. You can go to my website, which is adammcguigan.com, McGuigan.com, or the company that my company is called wekthebeast.co.uk. Great. And then the charity I was talking about in Zambia is barefeettheatre.org.
Fantastic. Okay, I will put all those links in the show notes. Adam, it's always a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you, Colette. Thank you. You've been such a support to me this year. So it was a delight speaking to you today and just letting other people know how much I absolutely got from the wonderful cleanse that you supported me on. And how I'll probably meet some of these people in the future community of the cleanses that are happening, because I'm definitely a fan now. I'm going to be doing it twice a year.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. Well, Adam, always a pleasure. Thanks a million for taking this time today. The work you're doing in the world is amazing. So thank you for showing up and doing that amazing work.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right. Cheers, Adam. Chat to you soon.
Speak to you in a bit. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Adam. It was so kind of him to share his Ayurvedic journey with us. And if you're interested in getting some support on your Ayurvedic journey, then please check out my online services. I do online consultations, the at-home cleanse, and I have educational program also. And you can visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, to find out more information. And I'll also put that link in the show notes. I also offer a free 15-minute Zoom call to talk about my programs if you have questions before you register. And just as a heads up, I will be taking some time off in August. So if you're looking to book something, I would book it sooner rather than later. If you haven't already subscribed or followed the podcast, please do so, and the new episodes will automatically download for you. And if you would like to rate and review the podcast, I would really appreciate that. It would help others find this great wisdom of Ayurveda. You can also follow me on social media on Instagram and Facebook under Elements Healing and Wellbeing. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate your support. And until next time, take good care of yourself. Be well and bye for now. Slán go fóill.